Button's going to get eliminated here. How does this happen?
Button's 19th now, and it's over.
Another qualifying nightmare. It gets a whole lot worse for Jenson Button and Honda. His thoughts about the future for the team and also himself is all part of our French Grand Prix build-up.
You have to be very selfish and ruthless about it, you know. My most important thing is me, and me challenging for the World Championship.
The future for Juan Pablo Montoya is no longer in Formula One. We report on a week of change for McLaren as Montoya joins the good old boys of NASCAR. No change at the front. It looks like Schumacher versus Alonso, just as it was in a mad few laps of qualifying yesterday. Live from Manicourt, it's the French Grand Prix. Good afternoon, welcome to the French Grand Prix in the fierce heat of Manicourt, where this weekend they're also celebrating 100 years of Grand Prix motor racing, and we'll be doing exactly the same during the course of our race build-up. Now, 100 years ago, that first Grand Prix was run over 2 days. Mark Blundell, I think in these conditions today, 70 laps will be quite enough.
It will be. It's going to be tough. It's very hot here. The drivers are going to have to make sure they're at the top of their game. But the big problem for me, Steve, is to see whether the tyres are going to last the distance. Bridgestone and Michelin, I think they've both got some degradation problems. And if they've got wear and tear come the end of this race, we could see a very different result.
Home Grand Prix for Renault, and a lot of French support out there in the stands. They're going to see quite a battle at the front.
They are indeed. And normally we're used to seeing the sea of red there with Ferrari, but we get to France and we see Renault blue everywhere. And I think we are in for a battle. I think Alonso's got that sparkle back for this weekend. Michael Schumacher, though, is definitely on the case, and I think he's out there for a win.
Well, we've got a lot to fit into our race build-up. Let's start with Martin and James looking back on a very eventful qualifying session yesterday.
Well, we've had a few minor modifications to the qualifying format this weekend. 5 minutes taken off the pole position shootout, and the drivers have been given a little bit more time to complete their laps after the checkered flag in the 2 knockout sessions. Theoretically, that should take a little bit of the pressure off them, but ironically, Jenson Button and Jacques Villeneuve both knocked out in the first session, and it's Silverstone all over again for Button, isn't it?
Well, I think it's even worse than that, because in Silverstone they missed the window of opportunity to get a time in. Here they were just playing slow as well as missing that window, so a really shocking weekend for them so far.
Yeah, Jenson did 2 runs, but traffic held him up, so he starts well down the grid. Into the second knockout session, and David Coulthard, Red Bull Racing, really punching above his weight, getting himself into the top 10 shootout, driving really beautifully this weekend.
Yeah, Coulthard's strong. His pace didn't look good in the free practice, and he pulled one out for the qualifying to get himself 10th on the grid. That'll be a net 9th after Rosberg takes a 10-place grid drop for an engine change. And De La Rosa in P8 for his first race back for McLaren in Montoya's absence, of course.
2 places and 0.4 of a second slower than teammate Kimi Raikkonen, so a pretty creditable effort standing in for Montoya, of course, is no longer with the McLaren team. Into the pole position shootout then, and it's really a story of Bridgestone, because Ferrari have a 1-2, Toyota a 4 and 5, and Alonso possibly had a chance to get on the front row, but he slightly blew it, didn't he?
Well, Alonso had a bad first sector on his second attempt to getting onto the front row, and possibly even pole position. So crucially now, he's behind Massa and Schumacher, and Massa can come into play as rear gunner there for the Ferrari team.
So advantage Ferrari in qualifying, but it's wide open for the race. Amazingly, it's the first all-Ferrari front row in France for 40 years. Michael Schumacher's really up for this one. Massa, his teammate, just 100th of a second slower than the Maestro. Alonso and Trulli are on row 2. Showing what a great day it was for Bridgestone, Ralf Schumacher's best of the year in 5th. Raikkonen alongside. Fisichella and De La Rosa in for Montoya at McLaren in 8th. David Coulthard, phenomenal performance by him in 9th, ahead of Webber in 10th. No BMWs in the top 10 this weekend. Heidfeld 11, Klein 12. Barrichello, a bad day at the office for Honda. He's 13th. Speed, the fastest of the Division 3 guys. Albers did very well for Midland, and Villeneuve is well down. Look at this, though. Jenson Button, it's Silverstone all over again for him, alongside Montero. Rosberg takes an engine penalty to 19th. Montagny, Sato 20th and 21st, and Liuzzi with an engine change after qualifying at the back.
Tell us your version of the little race you had with Fernando during qualifying.
Yeah, well, I thought it was fun. I mean, there is a reason we try to be first out the pits and stay first position. You have 15 minutes available, and depending on track, situation in lap times, you may do an extra lap or not, depending if you really optimize your running and your lap times, and that is obviously important to burn fuel. So that's why we all try to be out first.
Every race we have an important job. Definitely this time Fernando is close, and it will be important definitely to start and keep the position, and just thinking about the race to be in front of them.
Ferrari today was too strong, as we saw. They are with both cars in the first row, so it's not just casualty.
Do you need to win this race?
No, I need to win all the races, but we will try for sure. Manicure always open a little bit the door for the strategies. You can make 3 or 4 options, and hopefully the consistency in our tyre is better than them.
Alonso and Schumacher in qualifying yesterday, giving us an idea of what might lie in store in the race. The big bonus for Ferrari was getting Massa onto the front row as well, wasn't it?
It definitely is, because they can control the race, but what they've got to watch for is those fast-starting Renaults. Time and time again, we see those cars get off the grid a little bit quicker than most. But I think the other thing as well is to consider Toyota. They've really positioned themselves quite high up there, and it could be a little bit of a problem, because people think down here that they've got more fuel than what they're currently shown on the grid position.
How deep is the crisis here at Honda, do you feel?
I think it's like a football player. They've been winded, and they're down and out at the moment, and I can't see them actually getting up and recovering from it as a team. But, you know, they will do it, Steve. They've got some very good people here. All of these guys here are feeling the pressure of it. Jenson Button especially, we know he's frustrated, but at some point we'll have to turn around. We've seen it with Toyota. They've been through the doldrums, and look where they're starting to go.
Well, we can take a look at how Jenson's qualifying performances have declined as the season has gone on. From the start of the season with all those high hopes and a pole position in round 3 in Australia, it really just underlines how the season has declined to the point where they can really only be considered among the also-rans, at least at the moment. Qualifying at Manicure was as bad as it gets, and it was the background to my conversation with Jenson yesterday evening. Jenson, the regard for your abilities is as strong as it ever was down the pit lane, but is there a point where you think, well, if this goes on much longer, I'm going to be damaged by this?
If you looked at this team behind the scenes, you'd realise that this isn't where we should be at all, you know. And that gives you confidence. You know, the whole team are very positive for the future, and we have down moments. I'm sure everyone is you know, everyone does, but you know, we put that behind us and we carry on, and that's exactly what we're doing. If in 4 races time we're still where we are now, we'll be disappointed, but we won't give up. You know, what's the point? You know, you should always try and do the best you can in whatever you're doing in life, and also your job. So it's always the way I've gone about it, and I think it's the same for everyone else within the team.
But do you give yourself any kind of limit? Do you think, right, if it's not improved by the end of the season, the middle of next season, I need to do something about it, or what?
No, you know, that doesn't cross your mind now. You know, you can't think about that. You need to think about how you're going to improve it, not when you're going to try and get out of it. You know, that's not the way it should be. And we're all very close still. You know, we have had a few moments throughout the year where we've had some bad words spoken, but that's the same in any team. But you know, we need to stick together and move forward. You know, but it doesn't mean that we're not telling people, you know, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. This has got to change. But we're doing it without shouting.
Yeah. You made a lot of sacrifices to commit to the team, to renew your commitment to the team. You still regard it as the only option?
I regard it as the best option, and it was always for the future. It wasn't for 2006. We're in 2006 now?
We are. We're halfway through 2006.
Wow, scary, isn't it? Yeah, it was for the future. It wasn't just for 2006, and you know, I still think it was the right decision, 100%. I didn't expect to be where we are at the moment, but you know, you never know what to expect, and things don't always go to plan. But I've got a feeling that it will change, and you know, I'm sure I'm going to be asked in the next race the same questions by not just by yourself, but every journalist. Do you think you've made the right decision, and where's it all gone wrong? And it doesn't help, you know, them asking the same questions over and over again. You know, I think they need to leave us alone a little bit, and for us to concentrate on rebuilding in certain areas where we are lacking.
Let's hope the time proves you have made the right decision. Go out and prove it in the race tomorrow.
Cheers.
Well, Well, I'm joined now by Jensen's boss, Nick Fry. Nick, Jensen clearly a bit frustrated by the fact the press keep asking the same question. But the fact is we're going to keep asking it until the performance starts meeting not just ours, but your expectations as well. When's that going to be?
Well, I think that's a difficult question to answer. Obviously, we're trying our very hardest to improve. We had a good day on Friday, not so good yesterday, just general lack of grip. So we just got to work away. But it's how long's a piece of string, but we'll do our best.
What's the plan of attack? You must have a strategy prepared for this.
Yeah, in terms of long-term plan or medium-term plan, we've just got to continue to work on the power of the engine. We've got to work on the aerodynamics. We've got to work on the setup of the car. For this afternoon, it's very much do the best we can, overtake as many people as possible, and especially for Jensen, have a good race.
In terms of trying to improve the performance, aside from obviously driving as quickly as he can, what input does Jensen have to that, and indeed Rubens as well?
Both the drivers have a huge input. They're obviously the key input in our testing in terms of telling us where they want the car improved. But at the end of the day, the driver can only do so much in terms of giving advice. It's up to the engineers in the team and all the team members to turn that into real actionable steps that we can go away and make and then have on the car and hopefully improve performance. So they've got their part to play, but it's one part and clearly not everything.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, cheers.
Well, they continue to put a brave face on things. Mark, do you feel they can turn it around for Jensen?
I think they have to turn it around. I mean, the resource of Honda, they're not used to not winning races, whether it be in motorcycle racing, car racing, and they've been in the sport before and they've got a great winning record. So at some point it will turn around. But from the driver's point of view, they will get frustrated, but they've got to keep digging deeper and deeper and making sure they pull all of the team personnel together to go in the same direction.
But there must come a point for Jensen when he starts to think, I don't need this, I can do better than this.
Yeah, I think there would be that situation at some point, but maybe not quite yet. I think he's on a long-term contract. He understands what's going on in the background and he understands what the future is, and he's got to keep himself motivated. He's got to keep that belief. If he doesn't have that, he's not going to perform in the car. But it's tough to roll out every now and again and know that you're not got a position of getting on the grid high up, maybe. It's a tough one to follow.
Well, look at the Drivers' Championship, and we'd have thought as we head into the second part of the season that Jensen would at least have been a factor, but that's not the case. Fernando Alonso with his lead cut to 19 points after the victory by Michael Schumacher in Indianapolis. And Juan Pablo Montoya there in 6th, and you have to feel that those 26 points will be the last that he scores in Formula One now that he's committed to NASCAR for next season and effectively parted company with McLaren. Ted Kravitz looks at the talent and personality that Formula One has lost.
Even before McLaren sacked him, Juan Montoya had had enough of Formula One. And though the financial rewards are less in NASCAR, Montoya's come to appreciate that cash can't buy you happiness.
It's not whether you're making, how many millions you're making or how much money you're making. It's a matter of 3 years down the line, are you going to be excited about what you're doing or not? And I think 3 years down the line, when I look at my career, I'll be a lot happier here. I don't think if you're going to be happy getting more money and be miserable all day. One of the things that really attract me, that my family is welcome and I'm welcome, and it's exciting. It's racing where you can bring your family, they can be in your motorhome. I'd rather move my career here and have great success here and work with Chip and have a lot of fun than being there and not enjoy it. No disrespect. It's how hard is to pass a car in Formula One. If you pass it and you touch wheels, then you're an animal.
There's been a mixed reaction to the loss of Montoya in the F1 paddock, but at least the NASCAR series has just gained one more viewer.
I actually watched it last night.
He's not racing in it yet.
Yeah, I know he's not, but I'm just trying to understand it a little bit. But I think he's going to find it quite tough, actually. It's very different. But he's used to ovals, obviously, but I don't think they're like an ex-F1 boy coming in and trying to spoil the party.
What do you do in NASCAR? What is exciting there? I can't see that running around in ovals and having, I don't know how heavy these cars are, but heavy, very low, I would say developed car to drive compared to a Formula One car. I don't see the challenge.
I think it's great. He didn't wait to be kicked out of F1 to do it. He did it on his own when he still had opportunities to stay in Formula One. I think that's very gutsy. It's a good move.
It's a shame because I think he somehow belongs to Formula One. It's a character. He has done a good job. Was a bit unlucky in the last year, I guess, and this year especially. It was a bit of a shame.
I think he deserved better. I mean, not because he was close, but for his what he has done to Formula One and to the teams, I think he deserved better.
How do you feel about losing your teammate in the middle of a season?
It's nothing to do with me. So.
McLaren's certainly more calm as a team without Montoya, but it's also a less colourful one. Why didn't their relationship ever really work?
You know, he was always on an emotional roller coaster, and I'm quite sure still if he can, you know, control his emotions and put the passion to a very positive use, he could still be a great and have a great Grand Prix career. Maybe that's possible, but obviously he's chosen to go down a different path, and history will probably never demonstrate whether he ever realised his full potential.
And what it does do is loosen up the driver possibilities here at McLaren for the likes of Lewis Hamilton and Gary Paffett. Now, I know that you and Martin act on behalf of Gary, but you must feel that he's getting that bit closer to Formula One now.
He is getting closer to Formula One, definitely, Steve. He's now a reserve driver at McLaren as Pedro De La Rosa has gone into the race seat, departed by Montoya. He's got a great pedigree behind him. You've only got to look at his CV, and every second line it says champion. He's reigning DTM champion, and he's got a lot of potential, and he's got a huge future. But McLaren are lucky. They've got Lewis Hamilton and Gary Paffett, some of Britain's youngest talent.
They haven't got Juan Pablo Montoya anymore, and we will miss him. What do you think he'll achieve in NASCAR?
Well, I think he's going to over there with an open mind. He knows it's going to be tough. Everybody will see that from the off, but he didn't quite fulfill his potential. I'm sure of that as well. Ron Dennis hit the nail on the head for me. Fantastic driver, great car control, great character, but never gave 100% commitment. And even though he won Grand Prix, that showed the ability of him, but you never quite put everything together to look at a championship. And that's a big loss to him, I think, and to Formula One.
OK, Mark, thanks very much. That's NASCAR. This is Grand Prix motor racing. And don't forget that here at Manicourt this weekend, we're celebrating 100 years of Grand Prix motor racing. We'll honour that anniversary in part 2. And there's more from our interview with world champion Fernando Alonso. That's all when we return in a few minutes' time. French Grand Prix Day at Manicourt, the circuit in the very centre of France. And France is at the very centre of Grand Prix history. It was 100 years ago, give or take a couple of weeks, that the first Grand Prix was held just east of Le Mans. And Manicourt this week is celebrating the anniversary and everything that's happened since. And Martin Brundle shared a similar celebration at Goodwood last weekend.
We're on the front drive to the magnificent Goodwood House, celebrating 100 years of Grand Prix racing. It's the Goodwood Festival of Speed. You've never seen such an incredible collection of racing cars and very famous racing drivers.
I've seen some, 06 cars down there, and then I've seen some 2006 cars, and it's just unbelievable how much things have progressed. But when you look around, the whole world's progressed a whole lot in 100 years, and racing's no different than anything else.
Grand Prix racing as a thrilling sport remains unchanged. The challenge for the driver is simple: find the grip and be the fastest.
I mean, the speeds are enormous now. I mean, our maximum speed in my era was probably 175. But really, speed is relative. I mean, if you go around a corner at 30 and somebody passes, you're going too slowly. If you go down the street and somebody comes past, you're going too slowly, even if you're doing 200.
If you're in something which is very under-tired and under-braked and you're getting 800 horsepower, I think that would feel to me probably a little bit more dangerous and quicker than driving something which is more technically advanced and more capable aerodynamically of handling that.
The emotions of competing and putting man and machine together to beat another combination, that's there. That's still there.
No one needs reminding of just how much safer the sport has become. Nowadays, by the time the crash is replayed, the driver is already running for the spare car. Sadly, it wasn't always like that.
The cars of the earlier eras, and certainly the era that I started in, were lethal. I mean, I lost 2 teammates in 1 year. And I signed a book not long ago, and there were 20 photographs, and there's only 3 of us alive.
They used to go bang and fire, and all the other risks were something which was very much there.
If you go around to say 100, even 80 mile an hour corner, and there's a brick wall on the outside or a tree, and if I hit that boy, I could die. It's quite different to if I hit that, I have to get another car.
Formula One and motorsport in general has got a dimension which other sports have not got, and that's the element of danger. it is a gigantic stimulus for the drivers and the crowds to know that if something goes wrong, they could be in real trouble.
The sport has been graced by some fascinating characters over the decades, but the nature of modern racing, along with massive budgets, means competition is fiercer than ever.
The pressures on the modern driver is more than it was on us from the point of view of the media and the intrusion, perhaps, within their lives. But on the other hand, that's not a large price to pay for the rewards they get.
I mean, the team sport in our day was much more. I mean, if I was #1 driver and my car broke, I'd say bring in #3. I mean, you literally do that. And we'd be working as a team to win. And I followed Fangio through every race because he was fantastic. And I was proud to be second to Fangio.
If you put Michael Schumacher or Alonso in a 1955 Ferrari, I'm sure they'd be the quickest. Right? Just as quick away if you put Fangio in a current day car, he would be quick. I'm sure, because it's just the natural gifted talent of being a driver.
I think that's the challenge. It's just like a guy being a hunter, like to go fishing, like to play golf. He likes to drive a race car, okay? And there's nothing nicer than that.
No matter which of today's drivers become yesterday's heroes, the essential ingredients remain unchanged. Long may they continue.
That first Grand Prix 100 years ago was won by Renault, and here at Manicourt the technology has moved on, but the prospect of Renault's success, especially via world champion Fernando Alonso, remains the same. Although Fernando Alonso has to get past the team that's contested more Grand Prix than any other team in history, and that's Ferrari, an all-Ferrari front row for this French Grand Prix. Alonso now in the car behind us. He will take his place among the greats of this sport, won't he?
He definitely will. I mean, he's achieved so much at such a young age, and he's got so much more potential. And if he gets anywhere near Michael Schumacher, that would be a great thing. But, you know, Schumacher as well is a fantastic driver, 7 world championships. This guy has got the potential to actually catch up and overtake him.
How much does the modern Formula One driver actually relate to what took place in the past 30, 40 years ago?
I don't think there's a whole lot of correlation between the two. I think back then those guys were used to putting on a cravat and the goggles and then having a race and then going back into the bar. That doesn't happen anymore. They're dedicated sportsmen, they're true athletes, and you only got to look at the physique of these guys. They are unremarkable.
So the task for Fernando Alonso today, and everyone on that grid, really is to take a nervous look at their tyre performance, isn't it?
It's all down to tyre performance today. The Bridgestone and Michelin battle was as tough as what the Renault and Ferrari battle is going to be, and I think it's going to be interesting to see. Degradation-wise, Bridgestone look like they can put a lap together and then they go off. Michelin look a little bit more durable, but maybe not quite got the chassis combination.
And the heat is a big factor in that, isn't it?
It's a huge factor, big factor for engines, drivers, and the tyres.
Okay, Fernando Alonso all set to go out. He took some time off in Barcelona during this past week, during the course of which he talked with Louise Goodman, and we saw the first part of that interview yesterday during our build-up to qualifying. We'll just take a moment to see Fernando Alonso on his way. And yesterday we were hearing his thoughts on his move to McLaren, his 5th place finish in Indianapolis, which he'll be looking to put right today. And the tension and the meticulous preparation is the same as ever. Fernando Alonso on his way. Let's hear more of that conversation with Louise now.
This trip here to Barcelona is for work, but how often do you get to come back home to Spain for fun?
Not really much. I think 1 or 2 times a month, and only 1 or 2 days. It's really tough now during the season. We are really in the middle of everything, races, tests, promotional events, and now till November is not a stop.
How much can you relax it? Because you've gone in a relatively short space of time from being a virtual unknown to being one of the most famous people in Spain. Have you got used to that now, to that fame?
Yeah, I get used, unfortunately. And to get used to this is not nice, because really you have to close the doors to mostly everyone, and you cannot go out of dinner with friends, you cannot go out cinema in prime time. You have to really choose really different ways to live, and it's not nice, but at least I can relax.
So can you go out and sit in a bar and have a drink?
No, because the bar will stop, and I think all the people will be around pictures. They will tell with the telephone, invite all the friends to come in the bar, and will be a disaster.
So what do you do? How do you have fun here?
I stay at home. My parents home, and when I need to relax, I go to England, and I bring the friends there, and we go in the pub, in the bar, there, not here.
And still you don't get bothered there?
No, maybe one person arrives, but just to say hello or whatever, but with a lot of respect, and it's different passion about Formula One.
And your girlfriend comes over to England to see you as well?
Yeah, as well.
Tell me the story about how you met her.
I met her in a radio program, and it was a radio program that was just to congratulate me for the World Championship, and there were some music bands to put some show also, and I met her there.
And she's a musician?
Yes.
What does she do?
She sing.
Bernie made some comments to us a little while back, I don't know whether you heard them, about world champions not getting out and about enough and not doing enough for the sport. Does that kind of comment hurt you?
Not really, because it's not true, in my opinion, so it's not, I don't take care about too much about this. I think I do all what I can do and what I have in my hands. I try to be nice with the people, with the fans. I'm always giving cups, glasses, whatever I have to them. And in the sport, I work with the team. I do my test session, my promotional events with the sponsors, my races. So more or less what I have in the contract. So I don't know what I have to do.
I think people are questioning your decision to move to McLaren. When you just look at the statistics, the team have won 7 races this season, of which you've won 6 of them. The best that each of the McLaren drivers had is at 1 second place each. It just doesn't seem to add up. What's the reason for going there?
Well, I think in the future they will have the best car. And probably this year with the new rules, with the V8, they were a little bit surprised because they had the best car last year. So probably next year they will be up on the top, and they have the technology. I think they have the good atmosphere, and I think with Renault I finished already one stage of my career, one step, and after 6 years it's time to find another motivation.
What's your general attitude this year as opposed to last year? Because you've got a championship behind you, you know how to win now. Has it been different for you?
Yeah, completely different. Last year, every race I was tense, I was nervous, stressed, because I want to win the championship. So it was a completely different approach. This year I have the title in 2005, so I really go for it. Every race is a new challenge. I want to win, I want to beat the others, and I think I risk much more this year, and I enjoy it.
Outside of the car, though, do you feel different yourself too?
Outside, no, but I feel different approach to me, different relationship maybe with the people in the paddock. I think, I feel better because I feel that they understood that I can win championships as well. Before I was only a young talent driver, but with time to win. Now I won last year, so it's a lot of more respect, I think.
You say that almost as if you're embarrassed.
No, but I feel okay because before we only had Michael, and respect also for Jacques Villeneuve that won the championship, but not so much anymore because it was going down. So, in the paddock the atmosphere was always, I want to win and prove everybody that I was able to win.
So how confident are you that you can win it again this year?
No, much more than last year at this time, I think, because we know how to do it. We know the drivability of the car has to be perfect to take points every race. And we believe in our tires. I think the championship, Bristol, a better tire. Michael has a good options to win. If Michelin keep doing the same job and we have better tire than Ferrari, we should win.
And now here at Manicourt, Fernando Alonso is welcomed onto the second row of the grid by the tens of thousands of Renault fans who are lining this main straight. And rather ominously, Renault plan a big step forward for the car in Hockenheim in 2 weeks' time. BMW, they've made interesting changes for this weekend. Here's Ted Kravitz.
Well, yes, Stephen, doing this job, you know, you see some weird and wonderful aerodynamic creations, but I haven't seen anything like this for several years. These are these fins. They're actually mounted on the nose of the BMW, and what they do is, in conjunction with these horns, very much like the McLaren horns, they improve the airflow to the rear wing. They actually make the rear wing and the whole rear of the car work harder, aerodynamically speaking. But if we have a look at how it affects the driver's vision, well, it does affect it quite a lot. The drivers say that they've got used to it by now, but if they find anybody off their left front or left right tyre, well, it does actually affect them. So how much effect, we'll have to see if they get wheel to wheel with somebody in the race.
Always something different in Formula One, and that goes for the locations as well as the cars as this great championship moves around the world. After full-on Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, it's now sun-drenched central France.
The man-made majesty of Indianapolis makes way for the natural beauty of the French countryside this weekend.
1, 2, 3.
Formula One has come back to its roots, back to the country where the first Grand Prix took place almost exactly 100 years ago. Magny-Cours the 7th track to host the French round of the championship. It's located right at the southern tip of the Burgundy region, in an area best known for its agriculture, wine and beautiful Charolais cattle. And it used to boast its very own Formula One team. Magny-Cours was home to Ligier for 20 years.
Magny-Cours, you have the beautiful Nevers, about 20 minutes from here. I can't really tell you anything about it. It was this very venue that inspired me to get a motorhome, because staying in the hotels around here, there's not a great deal happens. I guess there must be some beautiful chateaus and things like that. From a racing point of view, this is one of the lowest key events we do in the calendar.
We live in a little castle, actually. Yeah, it's again in the middle of nowhere, but it's different, very friendly people there, and that is because it's actually quite difficult here to find good hotels.
The position might not be perfect for some of us, but I must say, you know, countryside is quite nice, you know, if you like it, and I do, so that's okay for me.
Coming from a big town, so I'm not really enjoy so much the countryside, but there is nothing to do, honestly.
Except racing. And if you're a Renault fan, it's the place to be. The French manufacturer is the largest patron of its home Grand Prix. Whilst most other teams are around 50% down on their average guest numbers, it's a massive weekend for Les Bleus.
It's a big interest race for us as a company, but here on Bastille Day weekend, it's also big for France. We expect a huge number of blue and yellow fans out in the stands. We've got 6,000 of our own employees here out front of our garage, all waving about 10,000 flags. We're expecting to do about 2 million euros in merchandise sales here this weekend alone. So whereas Italy is a sea of Ferrari, here is a sea of Renault.
But what to do when the sun goes down over that sea? The organisers came up with a crowd-pleasing plan. Cue Roger Waters, Nick Mason and a string of Pink Floyd hits. For the 20,000 fans who came to the show, it got the French race weekend underway on just the right note.
Well, the drivers aren't too bowled over by the surroundings, but our ITV F1 competition winners love it and enjoyed Friday's concert as well. All the competition details are on our ITV F1 website, where you can also put any questions to Mark Blundell for his Question Mark feature. Our most recent competition winner, identifying Paul Stoddart as the owner of Minardi F1, was Rona Pieszka from Mansfield. She wins herself a ride in the Minardi two-seater Formula One car. This week's prize, far more relaxing, comes from Jarno Trulli.
Hi Steve, as you can see we are giving away 2 cases of bottle to you, so I just hope that you will enjoy it. It's some red wine produced by myself in my vineyard in Italy, in Abruzzo, so I hope you enjoyed it. And good luck.
Nice one, Jarno. So that's our unique prize this week. A mixed case, that's 12 bottles of some very special wine from Jarno's exclusive vineyard, the Podere Castorani, set in the Apennine Hills of Italy's east coast. We'll even get Jarno to sign the cases, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning this really unusual prize is to answer this easy question. Which of these is an Italian wine? A, Champagne, B, Port, or C, Chianti? Here's the number to dial, 0901 293 2020, or text F1 plus your answer of A, B or C to 63337. Entries cost £1 plus the standard network rates, and the lines close midnight this coming Thursday.
Well, either A, B or C would do very nicely when you've got an air temperature of around 35, 36 degrees, a track temperature of 50 degrees. And Mark, how do drivers prepare themselves for this heat, protect themselves from this heat?
Well, obviously they need to be well hydrated, Steve. Most of the guys there will probably consume about 3 or 4 litres of water, along with some isotonic fluid, so they don't lose the body salts. But this is going to be a very, very tough race. If it's heat out there in sort of the 30s, it's going to be sort of in the 45 region in the cockpit. By the time they end this race, they're going to be about 3 to 4 kilos lighter, and that's just pure sweat, fluid loss. It's very
a demanding circuit as well, with no opportunity to relax, plenty of opportunity to overtake as well.
Yeah, there's overtaking opportunities, especially going into the hairpin off the straight, and we call it the straight, but it has actually got a curvature in it. But at the end of the day, it really is that one main corner there, the hairpin, which has got the biggest opportunity.
Well, it's a bit of a sprint from the grid to the commentary box here. So in this 35-degree heat, we've spared Martin Brundle the exertions of his grid walk today. But Ted Kravitz is down there with Ross Brawn.
Ross, a commanding position, both Ferraris at the front of the grid. What is going on with Michael's starts in Indy? He was poor compared to Felipe.
Yeah, a little bit, but the actual start itself was okay. He was a little bit slower reaction than Felipe, that made the difference. But obviously it's a function of the grip that you've got available on the grid spot and how well the system works. So if our system works 100%, and with the grip I think we've got this weekend, we should be okay.
And should be okay for the race against Renault?
Well, the big issue is going to be the consistency of tyres, particularly the left front. That long corner, turn 3. Until the tyre settles down, and cars are going to be all over the place. So if it settles down, we should be right.
Thanks, Ross.
So an all-Ferrari front row, Mark. And how should Felipe Massa tactically be handling that relationship with Michael Schumacher on the front?
I think Michael Schumacher is the guy that they want to win. He needs the points to try and get the championship, and Massa's got to play that support role, which has been doing very well, but he's also out there to get results himself. A lot of speculation still, Steve, on who goes to that Ferrari team next season. Maybe Massa's away and needs to find himself another berth.
Louise is a little bit further back on that grid with Red Bull and Christian Horner.
Yeah, Christian, your team, particularly David, have been punching above their weight this weekend. He's qualified in 9th place. Is that performance going to translate through into the race pace as well?
Well, we think we're on the right tyre for the race. David's driven very well here all weekend. Got into the top 10 yesterday with a very impressive sequence of laps during qualifying. We've adopted a strategy that we think will enable us to race certainly the Williams, hopefully maybe even get up with the Toyotas a bit later on as well. We think some of the guys ahead are going pretty short, and we've planned accordingly.
Tell me about strategies. Do you think we're going to see quite a mixed bag in this race today?
I think you are. I think you're going to see the guys near the front going pretty short. Our simulations are telling us that people are going as short as lap 17, 18. So, and others obviously being a bit longer than that. Anybody outside the top 10 is probably going to go a reasonable amount longer.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, what about tactics out there? It is the kind of circuit that lends itself also to 3-stop strategies as well.
It does indeed, and that's performed well over the years gone by. But I'm interested to see now whether the Red Bull simulations are there, because we've got information that says they may stop about lap 15 or 16, so a little bit shorter.
Well, we've been bemoaning the fortunes and the loss of form of Honda and Jenson Button without praising this fella too much, David Coulthard. And he's done outstandingly well in qualifying, and we can hear from DC, I believe, right now.
Yes, Stephen, it was a fantastic performance, just receiving best wishes from his old boss, Norbert Haug. And what were you talking about, Montoya not being around anymore?
Actually, fun enough, he wasn't mentioned at all, but no, Norbert was always completely straight and correct the whole time I was at McLaren. I appreciate that, and there's a good friendship there which endures.
Good position for points today, isn't it?
Yeah, very happy with that. Really at the moment, that's the best we could have hoped for. And now it's a question of seeing what happens on the start, of course, and trying to maintain the rear tyre during the stints.
Okay, have a good one. And it's to Louise now with Pat Simmons.
Well, Pat, those Ferraris got the measure of you in qualifying. Is it going to be the same in the race, or can you beat them here?
No, not necessarily. The first lap was good on their tyres, but degradation looks a bit high. I think it's going to be a cat and mouse game. We're going to have some 3-stoppers, we're going to have some 2-stoppers. We're going to be reacting to each other, so we can beat them, yeah.
What part of tyres going to play in this race today?
Very, very big part. It's a short pit lane here. You can have 3-stop races, so in some ways it's not quite so severe on the tyres, but degradation is everything here. So I think they're going to play a big part, and you're going to see strategies evolve. You know, we've obviously all got in our minds where we think we're going, but we're going to be changing as we see the real conditions.
Thanks, Pat. Have a good one.
Sounds like Pat Simmons has it in mind that the Bridgestones are a good one-lap qualifying tyre, but there might be question marks for the race.
I think that is the question mark, because he knows the Michelin is durable, and what they're going to get is they're going to get feedback from the driver just to say what the balance of the car's like and the overall grip level, monitor the lap times, and that's where the strategy is going to start to change, Steve. When everything's going south, they're going to have to bring in another stop, and things could change from that point on in terms of what the team do. I think a lot of teams will split the drivers in different strategies with 2 and 3 stops.
Well, a glimpse of Ralf Schumacher there, who was outstanding for Toyota, along with Jarno Trulli, qualifying 4th and 5th. Williams a little bit further back. I think we can hear from Patrick Head right now.
Yeah, Stephen, his driver, Mark Webber's not even on the grid. He's staying out of the sun. Patrick, how have your tyres been bearing up under this heat?
Well, from the practice on Friday and Saturday morning, they look pretty good, but obviously middle of the afternoon is just that little bit hotter, but all the indications are that they should be okay.
What position are you in otherwise with Nico out of the picture though, really, isn't he?
Well, although we were very uncompetitive at Indianapolis, it so happened that Nico from the back of the grid was 8th at the end of the first lap, and in a way I hope such thing doesn't happen here, because it indicates that there'd be a big accident at the front or near the front that Mark might be involved in, but you never know. There's all sorts of possibilities.
Okay, have a good race. Thanks.
Well, let's get back to the Alonso-Schumacher battle. We're out here in the paddock, and Fernando Alonso is just strolling past us right now, looking very, very relaxed indeed. But his thoughts as he comes off the start line will be what?
His thoughts are that he knows that he's got a great starting car underneath him, and he knows he's got every possibility of getting into turn 1 before the front row even. We've seen it time and time again, but I think that Ferrari have just upped their game since Indianapolis. The progress of the team in general, the performance, is just making Renault work a little bit harder, and maybe a little bit too hard, Steve. They know that they've got to really pull all the stops out.
Michael Schumacher really enjoyed Indianapolis, but he loves this place. 7 times a winner here.
Yeah, he loves this place. It suits his style. He's very much a guy who drives hard into the corner, turns the car into sixpence and deals with it after that, and he seems to cope well with it, and they've got the car tuned into that style of driving for him. But as I say, I think he's really got everything to go for, but the big question mark, as Ross Brawn from Ferrari has alluded to, and Pat Simmons at Renault, is tyre degradation, and that's really going to play the major part in this race.
There's Ralf Schumacher, who will be alongside Kimi Raikkonen on row 3, and Jarno Trulli, his Toyota teammate, ahead of him on row 2 alongside Fernando Alonso. But an all-Ferrari front row, Michael Schumacher and Felipe Massa. And what a French Grand Prix this promises to be. Well, so Grand Prix motor racing, it's been celebrating the last century, and it's about to start its next 100 years. And here at Magny-Cours, we'll be all set to start the French Grand Prix, round 11 of the Formula One World Championship, when we return with all the live action in just a couple of minutes' time.